we're looking at stress management strategies. And I have with me today Jo Burrow. Would you like to introduce yourself, Jo? Hi.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Nice.
So I'm Dr. Jo Burrow. I'm a clinical psychologist and co-founder and director of Ultimate Resilience. We're a company which provides wellbeing interventions for workplaces.
Yes. And I have with me also Natalie 𝐒𝐞𝐥𝐟. Hi, Natalie.
Hiya. Hi, I'm Natalie 𝐒𝐞𝐥𝐹, as you said. I'm a psychodynamic psychotherapist, and I also am into skincare. I'm a founder of Skin Solace, which is a vegan skincare business.
Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about stress management and some stress management strategies. The first topic we're looking at is triggers of stress, and my focus will be looking at triggers of stress in the workplace because my background is HR, and thinking about a HR hat on my head, I've noticed that a lot of the stress comes from employees who are not able to really prioritize their tasks throughout the day. And it does tend to be the temptation to fill up their day with odd tasks that are not important and not urgent. And then at the end of the day, you stress that you don't think you've done enough. So what I would recommend as a HR practitioner is to actually think about managing these tasks in some kind of a 𝐒𝐫𝐽 matrix, like I do on a daily basis. And I put in my box some of the urgent tasks, the not urgent tasks and not important tasks, and some of the urgent tasks that are not important as well. And I put these into this box, and then every day I look at this box and I move around these tasks, and then this gives me some idea of what I need to do throughout the day. And this alleviates my stress levels because I think to myself, I know what I need to do and I've managed my day well. But then there's interruptions, and in everyone's day there's interruptions that you need to manage. And once again, I try to filter those interruptions and put them into boxes again: urgent, non-urgent, can be left until another day. But workplace is stressful, and there's different themes that can cause you stress in the workplace. And it's not just your work. It could be, your own personal competencies. You may feel incompetent in your job, and you may feel that actually I don't feel that I'm good enough. And that's that imposter syndrome coming through as well. You may also feel that the organization itself has so much conflict and so many boundaries that causes you stress. Or there may be relationships at work that you feel stressed with, colleagues that you're not getting on with, and office politics. And the climate today doesn't really help, where we're working from home, and that's causing quite a bit of stress for a few employees. So, Jo, this is what I'm hoping you may help. How can we alleviate the stress that a lot of people are feeling within the workplace?
Wow. To say, I was really interested in the things that you've mentioned about workplace stress, because actually, many of the factors that you've highlighted are supported by the data from the Health and Safety Executive. So they've already done research, workforce survey research, which investigates what are the main sources of stress in the workplace. And workload comes out on top. That's the biggest source of stress in the workplace. Things like role uncertainty, lack of control, high levels of change, high rates of change, difficulties in relationships, and a lack of support. These are some of the main sources of stress in the workplace. And of course, many of those factors have gone, have become even greater, have increased because of COVID and all the changes that we've faced as a result of COVID. So what can we do to alleviate stress? Well, there's all sorts of things we can do. I mean, there's stress in the moment, and then there's also ongoing stress, day-to-day stress that we're experiencing. And I suppose I'd like to start with, what skills and strategies can we put in place when we start to notice the early warning signs of stress? Because if we can be aware of the early warning signs of stress, we can put a strategy in place that's going to help us before stress becomes really overwhelming. Because we've all been in that situation, haven't we, where stress has felt really overwhelming, and it's really unpleasant, isn't it? It brings unpleasant emotions, physiological sensations, and so on. So we can do a breathing technique called the slow rhythmic breathing technique. And so if we start to notice early warning signs of stress, and that might be tension in the body, It might be, we're sort of losing our sense of focus and concentration. It might be getting a bit of a headache, that sort of thing. We can use this technique called slow rhythmic breathing, which is about breathing according to a steady rhythm. So we're breathing in over 4 and out over 6. So the important part of this technique is that we're breathing out for longer than we're breathing in, because actually the out breath is the part of the breath which really helps to alleviate stress and the symptoms of stress. We're getting rid of all the carbon dioxide in our systems, in our bloodstream, and that's
doing it now.
Great. And if you can take a pause at the end of the out breath as well, that helps to just really extend the benefit of that out breath as much as possible. And what this is doing, this out breath, is it's stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps feel calm and content. So this is something we can do in the moment when we start to experience stress. But day to day, of course, there are things like we really need to be taking regular breaks. You know, we're not built to be kind of, you know, as human beings, it's not good for us to be on high stress 24/7. You know, we need to be having periods of rest and recovery. So that's through the working day, taking short breaks, even if it's 5 minutes, you know, or 2 minutes, even if we're just getting up out of our chair and having a stretch, and, you know, sitting back down again, even if we're just switching tasks, or maybe having a chat with a colleague at work, or whether maybe we're at home, we have a chat with someone in the house. Taking those very short, brief breaks can be really helpful in just bringing the stress levels down, getting a breather, taking a moment away from, you know, the pressures of the day. But also in our day-to-day lives, you know, it's so important that we have time away from work, time for rest and recovery, that we're doing, you know, we're spending time with loved ones, that we're engaging in the things that we love to do, our interests, our hobbies, that we're making time for those things. We know that work can take over everything. Can't it? You go home, you're thinking about work at the time, and you're still answering emails, and you're finishing off that report at 11 o'clock at night. And actually, we really need to have clear space away from work, set those boundaries, have clear space away from work, so that we have time to recover. And it's only if we have that time to recover that we can go back into work feeling energized and motivated and engaged in work. So that's a range of strategies. There's plenty more if you want them, but
yes. Yeah, that's a range. But Natalie, you can say, yeah.
I was going to say yes. I mean, there's strategies indeed, but I think thinking about what's causing those things to happen in the first place. You know, why is it people get caught up in the work, and why is it then breach their own boundaries with it coming into their personal spaces? And it might be about what scripts people are responding to. It could be fear of, you know, job loss, or pressure from the workplace. All kinds of things could be going on. There could be difficulties at home, which make it easier for you to focus on work rather than dealing with what's going on in your personal life. So it's really important to think about those things as well. What's going on within the person that's allowing these boundary breaches in the first place? You know, it could be something way historic, you know, to something present, really current. But having a space to think about those things is quite important as well. So while you're engaging with those strategies that Joe's suggesting, it's actually thinking about, well, what's going on for me? You know, why is this happening? And why can't I say no to these things if the no's required? Why am I saying yes all the time? And knowing full well that I don't have the space for it. So it's really important to try and be, you know, conscious in what's going on for you.
Yeah. So what happens if you're a senior leader that actually strives under stress? So there's stress management strategies, but I love stress. I need to be stressed in order to perform. And then how do you manage these employees in the workplace?
Apply for a partnership card before the 31st of January.
Sorry. Joe, how would you manage these type of employees in the workplace?
And there's so much more to love.
Well, I think that there is, you know, an increasing focus on managers and the role that managers play in organisations and need to play in organisations to support their staff. You know, there's much more of a focus now on workplace culture, particularly as a result of COVID, and, you know, the kind of struggles and